There is a unique and profound power in a woman who chooses to rebuild herself alone. This isn't a story of abandonment or isolation. It is a narrative of immense strength, resilience, and the pursuit of something higher. In those quiet moments when the world seems indifferent and the weight of existence feels unbearable, she does not falter. Instead, she confronts her pain, redefines her boundaries, and reconstructs her life with unyielding resolve. To witness such a transformation is to see the very essence of courage. And it speaks to something fundamental, the capacity for human beings, no matter their circumstances, to rise, endure, and transcend. This speech explores what it means to be the strong woman who rebuilds herself alone, offering insight and inspiration for those who seek to harness their inner strength. This is a call to witness, a reason to reflect, and an opportunity to grasp the profound significance of self-reconstruction. Why should you listen? Because it holds truths that resonate with anyone who has ever faced hardship, confronted despair, and dared to hope again. When faced with devastation, the decision to rebuild is not an act of whim but a profound moment of courage. It's a turning point where the individual stares down the abyss of despair and says, "I will not succumb." That choice is monumental because it acknowledges something primal and essential: the possibility of renewal even in the face of destruction. This is the beginning of the journey where a person takes responsibility for their life and begins the arduous process of reconstruction. It's not about denying pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about understanding that pain is an inescapable aspect of existence. To choose to rebuild is to confront that reality, to shoulder the burden willingly, and to recognize that through it lies growth and meaning. In that decision, there is an implicit rejection of victimhood. It's tempting, when life has torn apart what once felt stable, to languish in the comfort of blame, to point fingers at the forces, be they people, circumstances, or even fate, that have brought about this suffering. But to rebuild, one must relinquish the seductive allure of victimhood. This isn't to dismiss the injustices endured or the cruelty of the world. It's to acknowledge that those realities, while true, cannot define the future. The moment you decide to rebuild, you take back the agency that might have felt stolen. You declare that your life is still yours to shape, and that power, however small it seems at first, is transformative. The act of rebuilding starts with a single, often agonizing step. It's not a grand leap, but a deliberate and measured movement forward, even if that forward motion feels painfully slow. Maybe it begins with the realization that the chaos around you will not resolve itself. Perhaps it's the simple act of getting out of bed on a day when despair presses heavily on your chest. Whatever that first step is, it signals a shift, a refusal to let the wreckage define you, and a commitment to forge something better from the ruins. This process is deeply personal. No one else can fully understand what it means for you to rebuild because no one else has lived your precise experience. Others might offer advice, support, or encouragement, but the journey is ultimately yours to undertake. That's not a reason for isolation. It's a recognition of individuality. And in embracing that, you also embrace the responsibility that comes with it. You acknowledge that while others may walk beside you for parts of the way, the path is yours to navigate. It's terrifying, yes, but it's also empowering because it means that the steps you take carry real weight. They're yours, and each one builds towards something uniquely meaningful. The decision to rebuild also requires confronting fear. Fear is a natural companion on this journey, whispering doubts and reminding you of the possibility of failure. But fear, when faced with courage, loses its grip. You start to see it not as a signal to retreat, but as evidence that you're moving towards something significant. Fear accompanies growth because growth means stepping into the unknown, and rebuilding your life is nothing if not a plunge into uncertainty. You don't yet know what the future will hold, and that ambiguity can be paralyzing. But here's the truth. Certainty was always an illusion. Life has never been predictable, and the sooner you accept that, the freer you become to shape the unpredictable into something worthwhile. One of the profound challenges of rebuilding is the weight of past regrets and failures. It's easy to be haunted by the mistakes you've made or the things you wish you'd done differently. But those regrets, while painful, are also fertile ground for wisdom. They hold lessons that can guide you if you're willing to face them honestly. Rebuilding isn't about erasing the past, it's about integrating it. It's about looking at what was and saying, "This happened and it hurt, but it will not define who I am becoming." In that act of integration, you transform what once felt like a burden into a source of strength. And as you rebuild, you begin to recognize that this process, arduous as it is also profoundly creative. You are not merely repairing what was broken, you are creating something entirely new. You're reimagining your life, reshaping it with the knowledge and resilience gained through suffering. That creativity is a source of hope because it reminds you that the future is not a fixed outcome but a canvas on which you can paint something beautiful. What emerges from this process is not perfection but strength. Not the kind of strength that denies vulnerability, but the kind that embraces it. True strength is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to endure it and grow through it. It's the realization that even when you feel weakest, you are still capable of choosing, of acting, of rebuilding. In making the decision to rebuild, you don't just change your own life, you inspire others. Your journey becomes a beacon of hope for those who feel lost in their own struggles. They see in your determination the possibility of their own renewal, and that ripple effect is immeasurable. Your strength gives others permission to find their own. And in that, the decision to rebuild becomes not just a personal act, but a profoundly human one. It's a testament to our shared capacity for resilience, courage, and transformation. There is something profoundly humbling about the realization that life's challenges do not stop at the point of emotional devastation. When the dust settles and the immediate crisis seems to pass, you're left with the quiet, unrelenting question, what now? This moment, stark and unyielding, is where true transformation begins, not in the loud moments of destruction, but in the quiet aftermath where you are faced with yourself. It's here that you confront your deepest fears, your inadequacies, and the realization that no one is coming to save you. And yet, it's in this solitude that the seeds of strength take root. To rebuild after being broken is not just about survival. It's about forging a new version of yourself, one that is no longer defined by what was lost, but by what can be created. This process begins with a deep, honest confrontation with reality. There's no room for illusion here, no space to cling to the comforting lies that once shielded you from discomfort. The painful truth must be faced head-on, and that requires a kind of courage that feels insurmountable at first. But this courage is not innate. It is cultivated through action, through the decision to take responsibility for what comes next. Responsibility, though daunting, is the most empowering thing you can embrace in these moments. When life feels like it has spiraled out of control, taking responsibility for even the smallest aspects of your existence reclaims a sense of agency. It's not about blaming yourself for what happened, it's about acknowledging that you have the power to determine your response, and that response is everything. It's the difference between stagnation and growth, between being consumed by bitterness and rising above it with grace. This process of taking responsibility often begins in the mundane. It's not about grand gestures or sweeping transformations overnight. It's about the small, consistent actions that demonstrate to yourself and to the world that you are willing to keep moving forward. Maybe it's cleaning your living space, showing up for work, or reaching out to someone you trust. These acts may seem insignificant, but they represent the first steps in reclaiming your life. They are acts of defiance against despair, and they remind you that you are capable of more than you believe in your darkest moments. In rebuilding, there's also a necessity to let go of what no longer serves you. This is one of the most painful aspects of the process because it often involves releasing attachments to people, beliefs, or habits that once felt integral to your identity. But growth requires pruning. It demands that you shed the parts of yourself that hold you back, so that something new can emerge. This letting go is not an act of abandonment. It's an act of love for yourself and for the potential that still exists within you. As you navigate this process, you begin to understand the profound value of discipline. Discipline is not just a tool for achievement. It is the foundation upon which a meaningful life is built. It's the structure that allows you to withstand the chaos and uncertainty that inevitably come your way. Discipline teaches you to act in alignment with your values, even when you don't feel like it. It reminds you that emotions, while important, cannot always dictate your actions if you are to rebuild something worthwhile. And yet, rebuilding is not a solitary endeavor. While the journey is yours to take, it is enriched by the connections you cultivate along the way. These connections, whether with friends, family, or even strangers, serve as reminders that you are not alone in your struggles. They provide perspective, encouragement, and sometimes the hard truths you need to hear. But these relationships also require vulnerability, a willingness to open yourself up to the possibility of rejection or misunderstanding. This vulnerability, though frightening, is where true intimacy is born. Rebuilding also involves a shift in perspective. Where once you may have seen your challenges as insurmountable obstacles, you begin to view them as opportunities for growth. This shift doesn't happen overnight, nor does it diminish the pain of what you've endured, but it allows you to see your struggles as part of a larger narrative, one in which you are not merely a victim, but an active participant in your own story. This narrative, shaped by your choices, becomes a testament to your resilience. As you continue this process, you start to notice something remarkable. The very experiences that once felt like insurmountable burdens become sources of strength and wisdom. You realize that the pain you've endured has deepened your capacity for empathy, for understanding the struggles of others. You see that your failures have taught you lessons that success never could. And in this recognition, there is a profound sense of gratitude, not for the suffering itself, but for the growth it has made possible. Rebuilding after being broken is not about returning to who you once were. It's about becoming someone new, someone stronger and more authentic. It's about embracing the messy, imperfect process of growth and finding meaning in the struggle. And as you do, you discover that the person you are becoming is someone you can respect, someone who can face life's challenges with courage and grace. This is the gift of rebuilding, not just the life you create, but the person you become in the process. There's something fundamentally transformative about the moment you decide to stop searching for validation from others and begin to find it within yourself. It's not a moment of arrogance or self-centeredness. It's a shift in understanding what truly defines your worth. For far too long, many of us have been conditioned to seek approval from external sources, parents, partners, colleagues, or society at large. This craving for validation often feels like a relentless hunger, one that pushes you to conform, to suppress your authenticity, and to sacrifice your values in exchange for fleeting affirmation. But the truth is, this kind of approval is a hollow substitute for genuine self-respect. And until you break free from this cycle, you remain imprisoned by the expectations of others. The key to liberation lies in recognizing the fundamental truth that your value does not depend on the opinions or judgments of others. This isn't an easy realization, nor does it happen overnight. It requires a confrontation with the parts of yourself that feel inadequate, unloved, or unseen. These are the parts that scream the loudest when you face rejection. The parts that desperately cling to the hope that someone else's approval will finally make you feel whole. But the reality is, no amount of external validation can fill the void created by self-doubt. That void can only be filled by cultivating a deep and abiding respect for yourself. Self-respect begins with honesty. It's about being willing to look at yourself with clarity, to acknowledge both your strengths and your flaws without judgment or denial. This kind of honesty requires courage because it means facing the aspects of yourself that you'd rather ignore, the insecurities, the mistakes, the moments of weakness. But this is the foundation of self-respect, the understanding that you are not defined by your imperfections, but by your willingness to confront them. When you can look at yourself with honesty and compassion, you begin to develop a sense of inner stability that cannot be shaken by the opinions of others. This inner stability is crucial because life is unpredictable, and people's opinions are even more so. One day you may be praised, the next you may be criticized. If your sense of worth is tied to this ever-changing tide, you will constantly feel at the mercy of forces beyond your control. But when your self-respect is rooted in your own values and actions, you gain a sense of freedom that is truly empowering. You are no longer swayed by the approval or disapproval of others because you know who you are and what you stand for. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to feedback or incapable of growth. It means that your growth is driven by a desire to become better, not by a need to prove yourself. The process of building self-respect is deeply connected to the choices you make every day. Each choice, no matter how small, is an opportunity to affirm your values and strengthen your character. When you act in alignment with your principles, you send a powerful message to yourself. I am someone who can be trusted. This trust in yourself is the cornerstone of self-respect. It's what allows you to face challenges with confidence, to stand your ground when others try to diminish you, and to keep moving forward even when the path is uncertain. One of the most profound aspects of self-respect is that it transforms your relationships with others. When you respect yourself, you set boundaries that protect your well-being and ensure that you are treated with dignity. These boundaries are not walls. They are guidelines that help you navigate relationships with authenticity and mutual respect. They allow you to give and receive love without losing yourself in the process. And perhaps most importantly, they serve as a model for others, showing them how to treat you and how to respect themselves. This transformation in your relationships is not about demanding respect from others, it's about embodying it. People are drawn to those who carry themselves with integrity and self-assurance because these qualities inspire trust and admiration. But even if others don't respond as you hope, your self-respect remains intact. It is not contingent on external validation. It is a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. And when this relationship is strong, you find that you are better equipped to navigate the complexities of human connection without losing sight of who you are. Cultivating self-respect also requires letting go of the need to compare yourself to others. This is perhaps one of the most challenging aspects because comparison is deeply ingrained in our culture. We are constantly bombarded with images and narratives that suggest we are not enough, that we need to be richer, smarter, more attractive, or more successful to be worthy. But comparison is a trap, one that keeps you focused on what you lack rather than what you have. True self-respect comes from appreciating your unique qualities and recognizing that your worth is not diminished by someone else's success. As you build self-respect, you may find that it brings a sense of peace that you've never experienced before. This peace doesn't mean that life becomes easy or that challenges disappear. It means that you face these challenges from a place of strength and clarity. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to others because you are secure in your own value. This security allows you to take risks, to pursue your passions, and to live authentically because you know that your worth is not defined by the outcome. The journey to self-respect is one of the most rewarding paths you can take. It is not a destination, but a continual process of growth and self-discovery. It requires patience, perseverance, and a willingness to confront the parts of yourself that you'd rather avoid. But as you walk this path, you will find that the rewards far outweigh the challenges. You will discover a sense of freedom and empowerment that allows you to navigate life's uncertainties with grace and resilience. And perhaps most importantly, you will come to understand that your worth has always been there, waiting to be claimed not by others, but by you. When life tests you, it rarely whispers, it thunders. The trials you face are not random acts of cruelty, but profound opportunities to reveal the depth of your character. The world, chaotic as it often seems, operates under a system of fundamental truths. Among them is this: the person you become in the face of adversity defines not only your resilience, but your potential for growth. There's no escaping this reality, no bypassing the responsibility it places on your shoulders. And so, When hardship comes, the most crucial question you must ask yourself is not, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What am I being called to become because of it?" Every storm you encounter carries a lesson, but those lessons are not delivered passively. They demand engagement, effort, and a willingness to endure discomfort. It's tempting to retreat when the weight feels unbearable, to hope for rescue or relief from an external source. But the truth is, there is no cavalry coming to save you. The transformation you seek must come from within. It's in these moments, when you feel at your weakest, that the groundwork is laid for the strongest version of yourself to emerge. The question is not whether you will face adversity that's inevitable, but whether you will allow it to shape you into something greater. Pain and struggle are not the antithesis of growth, they are its prerequisites. The greatest achievements in life, whether personal, professional, or spiritual, are born from the willingness to confront discomfort head-on. It's in the fire of adversity that the impurities of doubt, fear, and complacency are burned away, leaving behind a core of strength and clarity. This is not a metaphorical process. It is deeply practical and often excruciating. Growth hurts because it forces you to shed the parts of yourself that are no longer serving your higher purpose. And the shedding process, while painful, is also liberating. There is a profound sense of meaning that arises when you willingly take on responsibility, even in the face of hardship. Responsibility is not just a burden, it's a path to fulfillment. When you choose to carry the weight of your challenges rather than flee from them, you begin to see yourself not as a victim of circumstance, but as an active participant in your own story. This shift in perspective is transformative. It allows you to see the trials you face not as obstacles, but as opportunities to develop the virtues of patience, courage, and perseverance. But let's be clear, this path is not easy. It requires discipline, a quality often misunderstood in our society. Discipline is not about punishment or deprivation. It's about commitment and structure. It's the framework within which you build a life of integrity and purpose. Without discipline, you're at the mercy of fleeting emotions and external influences. With it, you gain the ability to act in alignment with your values, even when the path ahead is unclear. Discipline is what allows you to continue moving forward when every instinct tells you to give up. It's also important to recognize that the process of growth is not linear. You will stumble, you will fail, and you will question whether the effort is worth it. These moments of doubt are not signs of weakness. They are evidence that you are pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone. Growth is messy and unpredictable, but it is also deeply rewarding. Each time you rise after a fall, you build the resilience needed to face the next challenge. And with each challenge you overcome, you come closer to becoming the person you were meant to be. In this process, it's crucial to surround yourself with people who uplift and challenge you. The company you keep has a profound impact on your growth. Seek out those who inspire you to reach higher, who hold you accountable to your own potential, and who remind you of the values you strive to embody. At the same time, be wary of those who would drag you down, whether through negativity, complacency, or manipulation. Protecting your energy and focus is not selfish. It's necessary. And yet, even as you strive for growth, remember to show yourself compassion. The journey is arduous, and there will be moments when you fall short of your own expectations. These moments are not failures, but reminders of your humanity. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend facing similar struggles. Compassion does not mean excusing poor choices or avoiding accountability. It means recognizing that growth is a process, one that requires both effort and grace. The rewards of this journey are not material. They are transformational. The person you become as a result of facing your struggles is someone who can navigate life with wisdom, strength, and humility. This transformation radiates outward, impacting not only your own life but the lives of those around you. When you become stronger, you inspire others to do the same. When you embody resilience, you offer hope to those who are struggling. And when you live with integrity, you become a beacon of what is possible when one commits to the path of growth. Life will not wait for you to be ready. It will present challenges on its own timeline, often when you least expect them. But readiness is not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about deciding to act in the moment you're given. This is the essence of courage, stepping forward even when the path ahead is uncertain. And as you take those steps, remember that the journey itself is the reward. Each moment of struggle, each act of perseverance, and each small victory contributes to the larger picture of your growth. The question is not whether you will face adversity, but how you will respond to it. Will you allow it to defeat you, or will you use it as a catalyst for transformation? The choice is yours, and it is a choice that must be made repeatedly, day after day. But know this: every time you choose growth over comfort, responsibility over avoidance, and resilience over despair, you are forging a path toward a life of meaning and fulfillment. And that is a path worth walking. Growth is not a simple ascent, nor is it achieved by mere wishful thinking. It is a path forged through effort, discomfort, and an unrelenting commitment to confront the truths of life. To believe that meaningful change can occur without sacrifice is to deny the very fabric of existence. Everything worthwhile is obtained at a cost, and this cost often demands us to face our limitations, our fears, and the chaotic forces within and around us. But in this confrontation, there is opportunity to transcend what we are and step closer to what we could become. It's essential to recognize that growth begins with an honest appraisal of where you stand. Without clarity about your current state, your weaknesses, your strengths, and the nature of the challenges before you, are left aimlessly drifting, hoping for change rather than intentionally pursuing it. This is not to say that self-assessment is easy. It requires humility, a willingness to face uncomfortable truths, and the courage to accept responsibility for your shortcomings. But this acceptance is the seed from which transformation grows. It is the act of saying, "This is where I am, and this is what I must do to move forward." The next step is to take responsibility not just for yourself, but for your future. Responsibility is not a punishment. It is a gift. It gives structure to chaos and meaning to your existence. Yet so often we avoid it, preferring to blame external circumstances or other people for our struggles. This avoidance might offer temporary relief, but it comes at the cost of growth. Responsibility demands that you own your actions, your decisions, and the impact they have on your life and the lives of others. It's a heavy burden, yes, but it's also the only path to a life of significance. As you take on responsibility, you will inevitably encounter resistance both from within yourself and from the world around you. The resistance within often takes the form of self-doubt, fear, and the lure of comfort. It's the voice that says, "Why bother? It's too hard. You're not capable." This voice is not your enemy. It is a reflection of the part of you that fears change. To grow, you must learn to quiet this voice, not through force but through action. Each small step forward weakens its hold, replacing fear with confidence and doubt with resolve. The resistance from the world is no less challenging. There will be obstacles, setbacks, and even opposition from those who feel threatened by your progress. Some people would rather see you remain as you are because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. This is where discernment becomes critical. Surround yourself with those who support your efforts, who challenge you constructively, and who share your commitment to growth. At the same time, be wary of those who seek to undermine your progress. Their words and actions are not about you, but about their unwillingness to confront their own shortcomings. Amid these challenges, it's important to hold on to a vision of what you're striving toward. This vision is your guiding light, the source of motivation that keeps you moving even when the path is dark. It's not enough to simply want change. You must have a clear sense of what that change looks like and why it matters. This vision should be deeply personal, tied to your values and aspirations. It's not about achieving perfection, but about moving closer to your potential, becoming the person you know you're capable of being. The journey of growth also demands patience. Change rarely happens as quickly or smoothly as we would like. There will be moments of frustration, times when progress feels slow or non-existent. But these moments are not failures. They are an integral part of the process. Growth is not a straight line, but a series of peaks and valleys. The key is to remain steadfast, to continue taking steps forward even when the destination feels out of reach. Over time, those small steps add up, creating momentum that carries you through the challenges. In this process, you will discover strengths and qualities within yourself that you didn't know existed. Adversity has a way of revealing what lies beneath the surface. It forces you to dig deep, to tap into reserves of resilience, determination, and creativity that might otherwise remain dormant. This is one of the great rewards of growth, the realization that you are capable of more than you imagined. Each challenge you overcome builds not just your skills but your character, shaping you into someone who can face life with greater confidence and courage. The journey of growth is about becoming more fully yourself. It's about aligning your actions with your values, your potential with your reality. It's about living a life that reflects who you are and what you stand for. This is not a destination, but an ongoing process, one that continues as long as you are willing to engage with it. And while it requires effort, the rewards are immeasurable. A life of growth is a life of meaning, fulfillment, and purpose. The question you must ask yourself is not whether growth is possible, but whether it is worth the effort. The answer, of course, is yes. Because to grow is to live, and to live is to embrace the full range of what it means to be human, the struggles, the triumphs, and everything in between. It is a path that demands much, but it gives back far more. The choice is yours to make, and it is a choice that will define not just who you are today, but who you become tomorrow. The essence of rebuilding oneself, especially after enduring hardship, lies in the profound capacity of the human spirit to transform chaos into order and suffering into strength. To rebuild is not merely to restore what was lost. It is to reimagine, to innovate, and to rise above what previously defined us. It is the mark of a person who refuses to let circumstances dictate the entirety of their story. This process is not easy, nor is it quick. It demands everything from you, your courage, your determination, your vulnerability, and your faith in a future that is not yet visible, but deeply possible. Every strong individual who rebuilds themselves alone must first confront the reality of what has been broken. Denial is an enticing escape, but it is also a trap, one that keeps us chained to illusions and prevents progress. To acknowledge what has fallen apart requires brutal honesty. It is to stand in the wreckage and say, "This is what remains, and this is what I will build from." There is dignity in this confrontation because it signifies ownership. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge, and in taking ownership, you reclaim the agency that hardship or betrayal might have stolen from you. This process of rebuilding begins within. The external world often mirrors the state of our internal being. When you feel lost, fragmented, or aimless, it reflects in your choices, your relationships, and your daily habits. Rebuilding yourself starts with addressing these inner fractures. It means asking hard questions. What values do I hold sacred? What vision of myself am I striving toward? What old patterns or beliefs must I leave behind to grow? These questions are not answered in a single moment of clarity, but through sustained reflection, through wrestling with your own uncertainties until the answers emerge, stronger and more refined. The path forward is marked by action, no matter how small. It is tempting to wait for motivation or inspiration before making changes, but waiting often becomes a form of stagnation. Instead, take the smallest step you can manage. Whether it's getting out of bed earlier, exercising for 10 minutes, or simply tidying your space, each small act is a declaration of intent. It says, "I am not defeated. I am still moving." Momentum builds from these small victories, and over time they accumulate into meaningful progress. Rebuilding is not about grand gestures, but about consistency, about showing up for yourself every single day. In the solitude of rebuilding, there is also an opportunity to rediscover your strength. Many people fear being alone, equating it with loneliness or failure. But solitude is a crucible, a place where you can strip away external distractions and rediscover who you are at your core. It is in solitude that you learn to rely on yourself, to trust your judgment, and to find peace within your own company. This self-reliance does not mean isolating yourself from others, but rather building a foundation so strong that your worth is no longer dependent on external validation. There will be moments of doubt, times when the weight of rebuilding feels too heavy to bear. In these moments, remember that growth often feels like struggle. The discomfort you experience is a sign that you are pushing against old limitations, expanding your capacity to endure and thrive. It is not a sign of failure, but of transformation. Lean into that discomfort, not with despair, but with curiosity. Ask yourself what it is teaching you, what lesson or strength lies on the other side of it. Each struggle you overcome becomes a testament to your resilience, a reminder that you are capable of more than you once believed. As you rebuild, you will encounter opportunities to reforge connections with others. These relationships, however, must be chosen wisely. Not everyone will understand or support the new version of you that is emerging. Some will be threatened by your growth, preferring the version of you that was easier to control or predict. It is crucial to discern who adds value to your life and who drains it. Surround yourself with those who uplift you, who challenge you in constructive ways, and who celebrate your progress without jealousy or resentment. These are the people who will walk beside you on your journey, not out of obligation, but out of genuine care. The ultimate goal of rebuilding yourself is not merely to return to who you once were, but to evolve into someone even stronger, even more aligned with your values and aspirations. This transformation is not about perfection. It is about authenticity. It is about shedding the layers of pretense and fear that once held you back and embracing the truth of who you are. This process requires time, patience, and forgiveness, not only for those who may have wronged you, but for yourself, for the mistakes you've made and the times you've fallen short. Rebuilding oneself alone is an act of profound courage and hope. It is a declaration that, no matter what has happened, you refuse to be defined by your past. It is a commitment to growth, to becoming someone who can look back on their struggles with pride, knowing that they turned pain into power and loss into opportunity. This journey is not easy, but it is worth every ounce of effort. For in rebuilding, you discover not only your strength, but the depth of your potential, the richness of your character, and the boundless possibilities that await you on the other side.